Well, hello, everyone. Again, we're a little bit late tonight. It usually starts at 8 o'clock, but we had a couple of technical difficulties, but we got it all worked out because we want everybody to see this from a whole different perspective. So if you could let me know if you can hear myself and you can see Mark very clearly. I'm Rob Allen with TruckMountForums, and this is Mark Marcovic with Turbo Seal, correct, Mark?
Turbo Seal.
Turbo Seal, okay. There was an interesting video in the group today, Mark, about somebody talking about Turbo Seal and why it's not a good idea to do it. And he wasn't saying in a derogatory way. He was talking about all niche services are just too much work to be profitable when compared just to cleaning alone. I thought that was interesting. I know it's just his perspective, but if you get a chance, watch that video. Maybe we can pick that conversation up next week.
That'd be a good discussion. Diversify or
die is my
safe.
motto. Yeah, I always say diversify or die, but
yeah.
Apparently this guy feels like he's doing just fine without it, Let me tell my son we got it all working. He just messaged me. Okay, so if you please let me know if you come into the here and let me know if you can hear myself and hear Mark and see us clearly. I'd appreciate it. We're going to be talking about tile spinners A to Z. And if you can notice in the background back there, Mark has a lot of tile spinners, and I'm going to tell you why, or Mark's going to tell you why in a couple of minutes. Something a lot of people in our industry don't realize about Mark when it comes to tile spinners. And I'm going to have Mark break that down in a second. We usually like Mark to wait for a couple of minutes for people to come in. The group is starting to pick up a little bit. Please, any of you viewers right now, you can come in. Let me know if our volume is good. Here we go. I hear you both, and I see you both good. Oh, Corbin, I'm glad you got in here. Mark, Corbin is the gentleman who has a problem with a tile floor, Mark, in a commercial setting, and I want you to see it. Okay, and he needs some advice on it. Would you rather do that first, Mark? You want to go right into it?
Yeah, let's get some of that out of the way so we don't clutter the environment.
All right, well, give me a second, and I'll
give me a little background.
Down here. Pull this into the new background here. So get this started, Mark. I'm going to go ahead and pop this picture in and see if we can get you and I both in here for this picture. There we go. Okay, Mark, come take a look at this. Corbin, Mark has not seen this yet. Can you see that picture, Mark?
Yeah.
All right, Corbin, if you want to come in and mention it, you're welcome to. He said they're just trying to get the floor presentable. But I believe he had mentioned, let's see if I can get back to his text message here. He had said that he's getting a lot of locations to do for this place, all right? And it's 20 to 30 years old. He doesn't know how long this fence has been cleaned. And you notice it's going up the wall and the backsplash there, right?
This is easy. This is commercial porcelain, smaller tile. The ones on the wall are 4 inches, and the ones on the floor, obviously 2 inch. Tight grout joints, glazed with a pebble texture, and that's common for a commercial bathroom.
Let me guess, Mark. Would this be a good floor for BioPro, for enzyme?
Yeah, because of the fact there's not usually grease in these unless this is a bakery bathroom, but this is just a common commercial bathroom that's just been mopped and mopped. I call it slop mopping, distributing fill with a rag mop. And so the mop edge is just dirt being pushed up by the mop. No one's walked on that floor. No one's dirtied that wall. It's the mop that dirtied that wall. That's the irony, right?
Yeah.
So Bio 10K, a good high pH, anything pressure and heat is going to just zip that wall not perfectly clean. Why is that? Because porous grout is going to absorb material that stains it permanently. So one of the candidates for color seal is let's make it all uniform like it was brand new the day it was installed.
But unless you've got some experience, doing a tight tile like this small tile would be a very tedious job to do. So we could discuss that, but how should you clean it right now? He said he's looking to get the grout lines cleaned that is circled. I guess that's the backsplash.
Yeah, it's called the mop board, or what you call the wall, the vertical wall, and that cove tile has that curved bottom to connect with the floor tile. And that's hospitals, schools, church, they're all commercial tile. That's how they used to do it. Bakeries, everyone, that's how you finish the corners. But if you get the right heat, you get the right pre-spray, it's going to do the most removal even if it's going to look a little bit stained, it's still going to be better than if you just kept slop mopping.
Would you prefer an enzyme or would you prefer a high pH?
High pH, see, an enzyme is designed for grease. If this were a bakery bathroom, a mechanic shop bathroom, we're dealing with hydrocarbons, we're dealing with grease. And so, people say, well, let's use a degreaser. Those are strong butyl cellulose, it's butyl-based, high pH. That's what's going to kill the grease. This is usually not grease.
This would be a perfect job for Frog Nasty, really. This is a perfect job for it. Okay, it really is, because it's got the citrusolve in there, and it's got your high pH. It's got all the solvents in there that Mark's talking about. Yeah. You should do a great job on it. Mark, explain to him how to do a micro test.
Well, a micro test, just like it says, I don't want to waste time with chemicals, labor, effort, if I don't know a product's going to work. So you have an arsenal in your trucks. It's a bunch of chemicals, and you want to know which one works. Well, don't start spraying the whole bathroom with the one you had success last time with some other job. You want to know if the right chemical, the best chemical, is going to take care of this the best. And so take a couple of 4 tiles, put on your chemical, diluted that the way you would dilute them, let it dwell. If you're going to scrub because you're a scrubber, go ahead. I don't scrub. I just go in and let it dwell, and I'll use a microfiber towel rather than set up my spinner tool or mini turbo or your gecko or your cobra or whatever you're going to use to blast out the dirt. I just let it sit a while and see which chemical is going to work the best. You can do 4 chemicals, but do it in a micro test. May the best chemical win.
What tool would you use to actually clean it with?
Well, I'm biased. I would use a turbo, a spinner tool. I would do the walls.
I'm talking about that wall. Yeah.
Yeah, the wall, I would tip my tool up or use a mini turbo. You can use a gecko, a cobra, a viper, the original tool that did single jet. It's a single jet tool. You're blasting the dirt out of its hiding place. It's not sticking to the tile, obviously. It's sticking to the grout because it's porous. And if it's sanded grout, it's also sandy in texture. That's why the mop isn't doing squat. It's just pushing it into the grout. And the grout is eager to absorb it.
Listen, he said he normally uses a doodle scrub with the skate and a TH40 for the floor.
There you go. Yeah. Well, the wall can still, if you tip your TH40 on its side, you're going to do it. But where's the dead zone? It's the very dead corner. Dead corner. And that's why when you tip it up, I could probably let's do the camera and show you the tip. Let's see. Okay.
By the way, Corbin and everybody that's watching, Mark is the one who invented the tile spinner tools. We'll get into that in a couple minutes. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I didn't invent the tools. I invented one tool and 2 iterations. But when you're against the vertical wall, like right here, and I want to get the dirt right at the corner, I just tip it up.
Exactly.
So if I'm cleaning against the wall like this, and I'm going down the wall, I just go like that. And now I'm blasting. Yeah, the water's getting away. It's not being sucked up. But then lay it down and finish sucking up the excess water. But I've got that edge. If I want to do a dirty high wall, I'm going to go ahead and run my turbo like that. Now, the mini turbo was designed to do walls, countertops, showers, etc. So that's really the right tool for that. But are you going to go to your truck and go disconnect this tool and go get a smaller tool just to do edges?
Not just for edges, for the whole wall, might, of course.
Yeah,
but for the edges, no.
It could be the whole perimeter of a big room.
Right.
Of course, you want to get it done fast and not have to stop, disconnect, go get another tool just to do a corner or an edge. So, improvise. You don't have to use a special tool for a job like that. Make it do. If you have thousands of linear feet of vertical wall, I'm not going to lift this thing up on the wall. I'm going to use a mini turbo. Absolutely.
Right. DJ Crisp said, that's what I'm talking about is the bottom corner where wall and floor meets after scrubbing.
Yep, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we usually, like I say, I'm not a scrubber guy. I let my ponies out. I've got 3,000 PSI if I need it. I have 2,500 PSI in my other truck mount, and I use them all. I'm not afraid to use it. If you don't use it, you end up losing it. If the hoses are sensitized to 1,000 PSI and no more, and then you need more pressure and you jack it up. It's like the engine never being revved.
Yeah, the guy Corbin, this is his job here, said he also has a pressure washer wand for the nooks and crannies.
Yeah, a secondary tool. So when we built the turbo, I just happened to find this yesterday in my archives. The first tool we made for edging and detail was called the Raptor. It had a single jet inside, had the boot around it, didn't have a brush, it just had a hard poly boot, and it was
Wow.
stuck on an S-bend aluminum wand, and that tool would direct force right on a grout joint. The fan was about 5 degrees wide, so
Yeah.
5 degrees at about 6 inches away is going to do a nice clean on a corner. That's the Gecko, the Viper, or in this
Yeah.
case, the Raptor. It's a single jet tool. So a 4-jet wand or a 2-jet wand will have no impact. It will rinse, but it won't really clean filth.
Yeah, we always, Mark, we always kept one of the geckos around for some difficult spotting. After we cleaned the whole floor, if there were some spots that were tough, we just popped on the gecko, get that one jet, blast it right out of there. Because not
Get it
everybody has
done.
2 or 3,000 psi in their truck mount, just so you
Yeah.
know.
And when you
Okay.
don't have that, you've got to resort to doing some pre-scrub. I get that. The
Exactly.
problem with the doodle pad versus a brush is the tile, if you look back at the picture, the tile is on the surface and the grout is recessed. It's like a 16th to an eighth of an inch deeper. So the pressure you exert is never going to push on the place you want it. And that's the grout. That's why a fine
Right.
bristle brush ends up being more dominant. Like I say, I'm biased. I like pressure. Anytime you guys are looking for a bigger, better tool, it's your truck mount. Make it more powerful, or get a high pressure portable extractor. That's going to allow you to force the dirt that's already been softened or emulsified completely out of the pores and get the deepest clean you can get. That's all
Yeah.
your goal is.
What kind of results do you think he could expect out of that? I mean, I would think it would improve pretty dramatically, being so black from all that mop material that's
Yeah,
gone up the wall.
I have found historically 20% remains, not because there's 20% dirt on the surface. It's what's in and under the surface. Use
Kind
the
of like
analogy.
an oil stain inside your driveway. You can lighten it up quite a bit,
Exactly.
and sometimes it's still there.
It'll always be there. I mean, unless you etch or acid burn or grind off the surface of the concrete, you're going to still have
I've
grandpa's.
actually, Mark, I've
Edsel.
actually used a torch on my driveway
I've
and
had
burned it
people
right
say,
off.
if I can really cook it, can I burn it? Sometimes you'll get a black carbon stain now
You
because
got to
you're
be
burning
careful. You have to do it
hydrocarbons
just right.
turning
So
it
I don't
into
recommend
soot.
that to everybody.
Yeah. So,
You know,
I have another method for that. We could talk a whole class on using microbial chasers that eat hydrocarbons, microbial poultices that will actually in a week take olive oil, dates oil, any kind of motor oil, transmission fluid out of the substrate that's porous without doing anything. You just sprinkle the powder on, spread it. The moisture in the substrate will continue to feed the bacteria, and they will eat till there's nothing left to eat. It works. A little pricey, but very effective. All right. Are we going to get on with
Yep, that's good. Corbin,
lot of questions,
it
but
seems like that answers his question. He asked me frog nasty, dwell, scrub, pressure rinse. I totally agree. Yep, I think you'll be
exactly.
fine on that. Hey, look,
Yeah.
take some before and after pictures and share them with us too, if you would. Yeah, we'd love to see them. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started, Mark. I'm going to pop this out of the screen, get us back to the double screen here. Let's see. DJ just said, say here, though. He did say, you're welcome, Corbin. I laugh out. Just had this issue, Rob. I sprayed Unchained 2 days in a row on some nasty leaves that sat over the winter. I'll send you some pics. Looks like brand new. Yeah, hey, I'd like to see that. Definitely.
Did he say leaves?
Black Diamond said, last few bathrooms I did that looked like that came out great with a hard water and soap scum remover also. Heavy agitation and 1K PSI. Wow, that's some cool pictures right there. DJ just sent me right there. Okay, Mark, you about ready to go? I'll get you back on here. And
Yeah.
Mark, rather than me telling everybody, how or where you are at in history on this tool, I'd rather you do it so I don't get it wrong at all. I want you to go ahead and let everybody know your history with the tile spinners.
Okay.
And
I'll
speak
get-
up just speak up just a little bit louder and you're good.
Yeah, I got the mic here. I probably should just bring it around near me.
Yeah,
Is that
sounds
better?
Mhm,
All right.
better.
So, 28 years ago, I was accidentally discovering that pressurized hot water will clean a porous textured surface. I had pre-sprayed some carpet, and it went over into the kitchen a little bit at the doorway, and the carpet pre-spray wet the tile. And the lady, after I was cleaning up after the job, the carpet was great. I was putting away my equipment. The lady said, "Hey, can you see something? I think you might have damaged my grout. You know, your chemicals damaged my grout." So I went there, and sure enough, my overspray had dried, and it was what color, guys? Everybody know what color chemicals left on a tile look like? White, milky, chalky, flour, whatever. And I said, no problem, man. This is some of my chemical I oversprayed. I should have wiped it up with my towel before I left.
Show us your face while you're talking, Mark.
My face? Why?
Yeah. All right, well, I mean, just be good.
All right, so as the education was unfolding, the customer told me, I think it damaged my grout. So I went into the my van. I got out my spinner tool at the time. It was called the Viper. It was a single jet tool, and I powered the grout joint to get that residue off because it was really dry and it wasn't just wiping away. And I did my job and I put my tool away. And she said, "Mark, I think you really damaged my color of my grout." And I go, so I had to look at it. I got to collect a check. I'm not going to fight with her about what I did to her tile. And she said, "It's just a different color." And I go, "Well, yeah, I cleaned it." And so I looked at it, and clearly the dirt was gone where I put the pre-spray and cleaned it. So I go, "Well, that's..."
And what tool were you using at the time?
What's that?
What tool were you using at the time?
I was using a tool. It was an upholstery tool.
Oh, okay.
And, I decided I better clean this up or she's upset. And, well, it's just dirt, though. And if I'm going to clean the dirt, and she said, "No, I think you ruined the color." I go, let me look under your oven drawer. I pull out the oven drawer, and there it is, the real color of the grout that was supposed to be there. And I had to convince her by showing the comparison. She said, "By golly, I've been living in here for 8 years, and I didn't know my floor was that dirty." She said, "Can you clean it?" And I go, I guess, but this is not the way to do it. So I went ahead and built the tool. I used a vacuum wand, S-bend aluminum. I put a jet in it. I just hogged it together like MacGyver, I guess. And I came up with this idea: spray, suck after pre-spraying. Just spray the chemical down and just suck it up. I wasn't a scrub guy. I'm not a janitorial guy. I did not have a 175 machine. I didn't strip and wax floors, so I didn't have any of those tools. I just had an upholstery tool and a nice truck mount with some heat. So that's how it started. I built a machine or a wand, and I said, "I got to do this, but I don't want to do 1/4 of an inch at a time." Could you imagine cleaning a whole floor with a 1/4 inch jet? It would
No, you'd be there forever, right?
So yeah, I'd be there forever. But I did her floor that way. It took me forever. So I'm not here to clean grout. I realized that grout cleaned really well, but there was a picture frame of clean in the tile. So I had to clean the tile now. One thing led to another. So years later, after we built the first tool called the Viper, and it was a customer named it. He served in Vietnam, and he said, "That looks just like the two-step Viper." I go, "What's a two-step Viper?" He said it was a booby trap, and if you didn't understand what you're seeing, you would walk into it and it would get you good. I mean,
was this with this first tool you made, was it round like the turbo?
No, it was a single jet inside of a housing. Just like this guy.
Okay, that small?
No, it was a wide one. It was a floor tool, just like we have a tile ones being sold right now.
Okay.
And I put a single jet in it, and I had all the suction in a single jet. Then I made a manifold, and I put 4 jets. But when you put 4 jets, you lose all the impact pressure because the 4 jets are sharing all that pressure you have, which isn't a whole lot on my first truck mount. And so it's just a nice rinse wand, really good. And I found I got better cleaning with a single jet. So how do you make a single jet clean a 12-inch wide swath through a dirty floor? You're not going to do it. There's no such thing as a fan jet. Well, I can. A fan jet, and I raise it off the floor this high from here to here, and it's going to have a nice 12-inch blast. Not a blast, a mist. You're just going to spray gentle water on here. No blast. Until I get close, down that close, you're not going to get a blast. So what's the answer? ProChem gave me the answer. ProChem had a hard surface cleaner made of cast aluminum. It was this exact color. And this hard surface.
I remember seeing something like that. Do you have one there?
You can look all over. There's photos and videos. If I was prepared, I would have had it. It weighed 70 pounds. It was huge and heavy.
And it wasn't round, was it? Was it kind of
Yeah, it was
rectangle?
round. It was round, but it had a wheel on the front, two wheels on
Yeah.
the back, a big
Yeah.
old handle. It cost $3,000 to purchase. It took 3,000 psi to power it. It had a gauge on top. It was cool, but it was overkill. It was over-engineered. It was unaffordable. Took a 3,000 psi truck mount, which they never made until they made it for this purpose. And I saw the idea, and it was brilliant, except it was stupid. Can something be brilliant and stupid at the same time? Yeah. So the idea came to me. I just need I need to put this thing on a diet. So here we go. Here we go. I'm going to be as fast as I can because we want to teach you something other than history. Does that look like a prototype turbo to you?
Wow.
Does that look crazy?
So I said,
You can weld polycarbonate or plexiglass with cement glues, solvent glues, and that's what we did. I put that together. We put a brush strips around. You see how it's mounted? Very crude. We overlaid it in fiberglass because heated plastic likes to craze and crack. And I was worried it was going to crack. So overlay it with epoxy and fiberglass. And boom, it held together. It was cool. It was a useful tool. Ugly as sin. It cost a fortune to make. But the proof of concept was accomplished. This idea of a spinner that sprayed and spun and had suction around the edges, which is what you see here. That is a suction. That's a shell with the see how that's square on the corners? And inside it's got a bevel. That chamfer bevel is contiguous to this spout right here, this little hole. Can't see it through the plastic anymore, but right there is the spout. And that was the first working prototype 27 years ago. Here was the next iteration. Well, this is actually a secondary or third iteration. The first iteration was a different shape altogether, and I have those stored away, but you can see the shape here. This is a vacuum form pressure assist polypropylene. The same plastic that polyolefin carpet is made out of is what this plastic's made out of. We formed them with heat and vacuum, and then we machined the holes in the right places. We installed and welded certain pieces. Like every one of these spouts off the back is a Ryan Herco polypropylene fitting that is literally, I welded every one of these with a plastics hot air welder. And there was the first kind of practical working tool that we sold in mass. The handle is a kind of a hammer tone Hydromaster powder coat. We put a nice valve gun in it. We did not have a brush boot at the time. We used the poly boot, which is UHMWPE, not Teflon. If I taught anybody anything, no one makes a Teflon boot on any of these tools. Teflon will not hold up on abrasive surfaces.
Yeah, but everybody calls them.
Because it's white, it's plastic, so it must be Teflon.
Right.
Because they're on glided wands, right? We want them on glided wands, but we don't need them on this kind. You notice the spray bar is a special bend angle. The threads were threaded for the jet directly. No fittings, no elbows. So this is kind of one of the first kind of concepts. Well, it's actually number 2. This is prototype proof of concept. This is iteration number 2. And there was one between this that had no shape in here. It was very crude. And then we thought we got to mass produce by injection molding. So we kind of had a company that we consulted with. He went crazy over the top. It was a company out of Texas. And this was born. This thing weighs about 20 pounds. Wow. It's very heavy because this is a tube that was lathed on a lathe.
So that was your first invention?
No, not this. All of these are my invention, but I'm just saying, once you start a product, you got to improve the production value so that you can make them faster, more consistent with less labor. This required a lot of machining and milling, a lot of shaping, drilling, welding. We wanted something that you could just pop out of a mold and assemble, right? Make it quick, make it easy. So this was the project, and it just went top heavy. It was over-engineered. It took way too long to fix it. Put it together. If a part needed replacing, you virtually disassemble the whole thing. It was just crazy engineering was involved, and it would have cost way too much. It would have never made it to market. Only 6 were produced, and you can see the complexity. We wanted to be able to take this off by you can bayonet this ring right here. See the little hooks around the edges? You'd bayonet,
Oh yeah. Mhm.
unlock it, and you could take the shell off and do some change your swivel or spray bar.
Okay.
And you can see how this lines up with this inner. So you can put it in that position and then slip the collar off so you can unclog. If you get clogs in there, airsoft BBs or pellets or hairballs forming, how do you get it to clean it out? That was one of the problems with the
Well,
Hydromaster.
Mark, for your prototype, that wasn't a bad design.
Oh, it's techie. It's
Right.
cool, but
Yeah.
it was impractical. So just because you go run down a pathway, you say we want to make it high tech. Look, it had a locking locking trigger on here, right? Cool.
I mean, it actually looks more high tech than your.
It does, but look how wide this handle is, man. You
Yeah.
couldn't get to a bathroom door with this thing.
Yeah, it's inconvenient. True.
And
True.
this was the vacuum relief. So if you slide this up and down, it would open an internal door that would let me not suck so much. Yeah. And so it had got a lot of good thought in this. The man who designed the drawings for this, and we worked in collaboration, and I lost control of the project because my partner in business at the time kind of ripped it out of my hands and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make it techie. We're going to make it this. And but he went down a journey that ended up being a dead end because this tool is unsellable, unusable, hard to fix, very overpriced and overweight. So the iteration, and these up here are just trade show demonstrators. So we could go into a trade show and have clear and people could understand what they were seeing.
The concept.
Spray bar. Yeah, because if you don't see that this is what it's doing when it's on, you don't understand.
That it's all turning and stuff, right?
The Asians would come up to our table with their cameras and they go, so where's the brush? Where's the motor? They didn't understand centrifugal spin. So one of the first early iterations of the spinner was, well, that's interesting. Was you can see the design on this. It has a little X right there. We realized some big bad boy truck mounts have more suction and they need more vacuum relief. We call it a vacuum compensator. So when I designed this, a vacuum relief is a leak in your suction.
Right.
Delivery.
So why not just use the handle one, Mark, versus the one on the lid?
That's a good question. It's a good technical.
Hey, but hold on one second, Mark. One gentleman's asking about which one to go with. And he says, can he use a turbo hybrid on a concrete floor in a garage? I do.
I do all the time. Sidewalks, concrete, cool deck. Bricks, pavers. Here's what and we'll get to this because it's important that you understand what
watch out for this flagman because he's going to mention there's two different rings you can put on there and he's going to tell you the applications. Mark, before you go any further, I want to let everybody know that's watching that Mark's talking to you about how, his inventions, his designs, and then he's going to move into how to use the tool properly and also how to change the heads on it, correct? The rings.
How to change your rings or service and maintain. There's things you need to know about it so you can keep it in good order and what to watch out for. We're going to talk about freeze thaw. We're going to talk about pre-filtering. There's a lot of things you have to do if you want to keep the tool working for you. All right, we'll cut this short then. It's just the history is use it, build it, try it, and then try to improve it. That's what everything in good design and good manufacturing should include. So we had to open up our vacuum compensator. The difference between a compensator and a vacuum relief are night and day. They're not the same thing at all. If I open this door because my truck mount is a ripping powerhouse and it sucks to the floor too hard, yes, if I open that, I'm going to get less suction. It's called a leak. This is a suction or vacuum leak. This is not a vacuum leak. This is contiguous to the inside negative pressure. Here's your chamber of negative pressure. The seal is around the edges. It's not a complete seal because it's a brush. Even the ring here doesn't have the hard boot ring is not a complete seal because there'll be a grout joint that is going to leak through. But when this is sucking too hard because you have a nice powerful truck mount, this is going to suction cup to the floor to the point you can't even move it. So you have two things to do. Turn down the RPM of your engine, which now you have less heat, you have less pressure, your performance went down, or you put a vacuum relief that's going to say, yeah, I'm too much suction. I'm going to have a leak here so that the suction isn't going to keep me sucked to the floor. Or you do the smart thing, keep that full on. You want all the suction to take all the water off the floor.
And use your compensator.
compensator. It compensates for the suction differential between a rough surface, a grout joint, if you have a 4-inch tile, you got all these grout
Hey,
joints.
Mark, Corbin makes a point here. He said he loves the feature of the compensator on TH40. He said he wishes his large pressure washer water recovery surface cleaner had one. It gets hard to move even with a 550 CFM blower.
Yeah, so he has another one of these large surface spinners.
For outside work.
All right. And is it a stainless steel Mosmatic, a Steel Eagle? What is it?
I mean, he doesn't say what model it is, but why don't they put compensators on those floor the floor?
This was one of the only things that were patented that really
surface tools. That's your patent.
This is what differentiates this from almost any tool out there.
Gotcha.
Nobody really had that feature built into their
vacuum
design.
compensator. So that's why these surface tools and the pressure washing industry don't have them.
Yeah, it was patented, and they don't think they need them. Where does the water go? I mean, most concrete flat surface spinners just blow and go. They don't have to suck the water unless you live in California where they don't let you let water go. You got to capture everything. And what if it's a toxic material you're cleaning off the ground? By law, you should be capturing for recycle and proper disposal all of your wastewater. That ain't going to happen if you don't have a way to suck it up. So if it sucks too hard, this is a simple device. You can put it in your own tool. It's just a flappy door. It's got an actuator spring. It seals when it needs to and opens when the suction is too strong. And you set the tone of the spring. The spring is already set, but you set the pressure on the spring by how far that nut is screwed down or not.
So okay, which way gives you if it's sucking to the floor, right?
If it's sucking to the floor, you want more actuation to
we can't see it, Mark.
Move it over. You back off the nut. You back off the nut.
Back off the nut, and that'll create.
That makes this easier to push down. The air will suck it down as it needs it.
Gotcha. It makes the spring.
And if you want to pick up water better, and you can push it, it's a nice smooth floor. Then you let it go. Now, when I want more suction on a floor, doing a tile floor, I don't worry about getting a wrench out because I got to get a wrench here. That's a nylock, which means what? It doesn't move by hand. You got to have it cranked good. And then you got to get another wrench or pliers on the inside to hold the nut. So what's easier? Let's MacGyver here for just a minute. I throw a damp microfiber right on top. A damp or a wet microfiber, I just throw it right there. Boom. I just throw it on there and go to work. Guess what? It becomes a compensator for the compensator. I just, there's hacks about everything out there, and this is my hack.
Explain that hack one more time.
If I don't want to go get wrenches and adjust this, because I've adjusted this to an average, most of my jobs, acceptable pressure or vacuum relief. If I'm doing a job and I just want a little more water pickup and it's a nice smooth tile, no gritty texture to deal with, I just throw a damp or, a soggy or fairly wrung out microfiber towel, and I just throw it over the openings, and it's going to suck down around those openings and give me even more resistance to opening. And, I decide, and if it's too much, I'll back off and do only half of the opening. I'll let half of the opening exposed. And it's a wonderful, quick, instant way to adjust instead of going to get some wrenches and change that. Because this will be the floor that it works great after you adjust it. Then you go to another job, and now it's adjusted too loose, and you're leaving water everywhere.
Yeah, that's smart. Just to throw that on there and get it damp first. That kind of sucks it in there. Yeah,
because then it's having to breathe hard through the damp towel. All right, so you'll notice on some of these turbos, the spinners, we had different generations. The company Mosmatic out of Minnesota, they had this is a stock standard swivel union or swivel. Their history is the car wash industry. The big booms that are over the car wash and the big arm spins around. That's where this is born from.
Well, that's why we call it. Is that a boom swivel? That's what we used to call it.
Boom swivel. It could be a real swivel. If you have a real, this is engineered for high speed movement though. So this is actually engineered with the bearings, the seals, they're ceramic. It's a very sophisticated design that the Chinese never have been able to knock off. We had several Chinese companies say, "Oh, we'll save you money. We'll get and their attempt was embarrassing. If they know it didn't work, why'd they still send it to us? Because it was
crazy.
It was a mess. It wasn't even close. Facsimile is not a duplicatable part. A facsimile just looks like, it's like a model. It just looks
Exactly.
like our swivel, but the
Exactly.
workings, the mechanics were worthless. So you see, we had to put an elbow up and over, and the high pressure line, this steel braided high pressure Teflon lined hose would supply this, and we wanted to get the profile lower. Why would we want to get it lower? Here you have the highest point on this tool is right here. Look what went higher, the connection,
Yeah.
the elbow. Well, that's
Mm.
not friendly if I want to go under some appliances or some
Yeah, you
commercial
know, smash up
appliances.
something, scratch
So
something, or break off
we
some
got
code base or
cosmetic
something.
port right out the side with a 1/4 inch pipe thread female. So we went right in, and there was just the top is where we electro etched our brand Turbo Seal right across the top. So I dig one up, but trust me, guys, you already know about it. You have them. They're out there. Oh, here it is. Sorry, it was under
There
my
you
nose.
go.
So there's Turbo Force.
So y'all had that specially, you had this specially made for yourself.
We just had it made for us, and unfortunately, I think they're probably selling it to everybody else. So look, notice the profile of the dog ear.
Yeah, perfect.
Right level with this. So there's the low. Unfortunately, the highest part of the tool is now this stupid hump. Why is the hump going up instead of down? Well, that was my partner's idea. He said that looks stupid. Let's turn it over. And I go, well, let's not turn it over. If we turn it over, it's now the highest point you can't get under. You're going to hit here. He didn't understand. He wanted it for aesthetics. He said this looks better. I go, it may look better, but it's not functionally better.
Right.
Anyway, so you can see the compensator here is the old gen. It's not the wider open hole that's bigger. And we embossed the name on it. The finger tabs
Now,
were here
didn't the SX15, doesn't it have holes on it with a little slide for a
the
compensating?
SX15 had what's called the Parmesan lid opening.
Yeah, Parmesan
when
lid.
you
I
have
like that.
a plastic insert that you spin to get bigger openings and
Yeah.
close the other way to get smaller openings.
Right.
That was kind of what they did, and they realized that they couldn't use our patent because the patent would infringe, and all right, so they did the next best thing, which meant you always had to kick it with your toe to adjust on the fly. It would never adjust on the fly. It adjusts on the toe. In other words, you had to constantly change it to fit the average need of the job. But if you changed different size tiles, you had different textures of tiles in the same job, you had to keep messing with your little toe Parmesan cheese adjuster. This guy just said, hey, I'll adjust on the fly. Anytime you need it, I open. If you don't, I stay closed. You get a completely even pickup of moisture. You don't have petals laying around because the compensator is set for your average, for your truck mount. So if you had a big monster truck mount with number 7 blower, dude, you've got to, this will open without, you're going to have to maybe turn that nut way down to keep this shut, or that is going to open it. But you need enough to be able to compensate for what you have. Now, back in the day, this was 1.5 inches, right? That was standard. Carpet one's 1.5 inches. What's the benefit to 2 inch? Well, more airflow. So, there's advantages, but turbo, took way too long to do that. And I'm out and the new owners are in. So that's just another story, another mini series for another day.
All right. So Mark, you basically invented the turbo hybrid, correct?
The turbo hybrid, the turbo first wasn't a hybrid. What made it a hybrid is this was a generation that was not called the hybrid. It was just called the turbo.
Right. Right. So you enjoy, right.
The hybrid came along when we said, we can't just be this one hard boot ring. We needed to have a hybrid system where we can
put
use
a brush on there.
This is what I want to make sure everyone understands. The two boots had a reason and a purpose, and everyone gets stuck on the one they start with. Once you start, sometimes people just don't want to let go or change. It is shipped with and installed with the hard boot.
Okay. Hold on, Mark. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to let you go through all this. I want to break this up in 3 sections when I put it for YouTube. So section 1, we basically talked about how to clean that type of floor that somebody had a question on, which was a porcelain, and using a turbo hybrid. And we also talked about how you came up with the design for the turbo hybrid, or the turbo, and then the hybrid. So now we're moving into the cleaning section. And there's a couple things I want to talk about. That's the different rings, how to change the head around. And there's an old dilemma that goes around. Some people say you should clean into the room. Some say you should clean out of the room. So I want you to answer that in the context when you're moving through which one of these rings to use, the best way to use it, and the best way to clean with it. Okay.
Okay, let's cover the how to navigate a job.
I
Just
knew that
like
was coming
carpet,
first.
just
I
like
knew that
any
was
tool.
coming first.
Well, we got to do that first. It's not related at all to the tool. It's just logistics, logical logistics. If you're going to walk on a pre-sprayed floor with your tools and your hose is going to snake across those pre-sprayed floors, you better be getting out of the room, not into the room, right? So get to the
No,
farthest
that's not
area.
right.
Pardon?
That's not right.
Well, now we're getting political, but we'll go ahead and tell me why you should clean into a room.
If you watch any video where guys are trying to make that dramatic difference to put on social media, you have to clean the opposite way.
Well, right. But now here's your agenda. If I have 9 videos that are killer, why do I want to clean the wrong way just to create a powerful video? So yeah, you've all got to decide, guys. Am I doing this for the showmanship of it, the impressive, powerful demo?
If you're
And really,
Vimming.
you can do both. You can do both, Rob. I like to go into a room and start in the middle and cut a line through filth. A cut through filth is amazing. It's called Zero Res calls this
the magic.
stripe. The stripe. You're going to pull a stripe through the dirtiest part of the carpet.
A racing stripe, basically.
Yeah, you want to wow the client. You don't want to go clean the edge that's not even very dirty.
Right, right.
And then bring them in the room. No, you bring them through the middle of the worst, filthiest, and go, wow, look what my magic water did. All right, so you're going to have a purpose, and your logistics are based on that. But as far as just the hygiene of walking in and out, not because you might have carpet you have to go over before you get to the tile area. So you're the smart guys. You all know how to go into a job and out of a job without being silly, but being counterproductive, being having to clean a surface twice.
Right.
So figure it out. You know, we don't have to tell you that, but our personal opinions are based on our experience. So will yours. Your experience will tell you what to do. If I want a killer video, I'm not going to just wander through the job. So I'm going to touch on one more very important thing that's my pet peeve of the universe.
Okay.
And that is when I see a video of a guy using a turbo. I got to demonstrate this so you guys understand my passion. What should I use? I'm going to use the old school here.
Okay.
And I see you guys in here, and you got your video going. You're wowing the customer socks, and you've already done that. But now you're shooting a video, and I see what you're doing. Now, maybe for the video, because you're holding your hand on a camera, and the other hand's running a tool. So now you're handicapped, but I get it. And being handicapped, you're going to do it the wrong way. What's the wrong way? This.
That's how everybody does it.
Everybody in the videos I see, it's like, dude, if I don't scrub that floor with these scrubbing motions, I'm not going to get that floor clean.
Well, Mark, it's in their carpet cleaning blood. You know, it's like
I
moving a
know
wand
that.
back and
So
forth.
they scrub wand for a reason, right? You know,
Right.
I don't use my Rotovac to clean carpet that way. I don't push my Rotovac back and forth.
True.
I just walk the dog. When you guys mow a lawn, do you really take the lawnmower and push and pull that thing to make sure you really cut that grass extra good? No, you walk and it's done. All right, so my point is, make a pass, an ergonomically logical pass. I love this final floor down, by the way, guys. I can simulate tile here. My sweet spot on a turbo. Does everyone know what the sweet spot is? It's the blast zone, and the blast zone is in the shape
Towards the outside, yeah.
of the donut. It spins in a round circle, right? And
Right.
so where's the sweet spot? It's at this many inches. It's like about 1 1/8 inches away from the edge. And here. So where's the sweet spot? It is a perfect, let's see, did I cut? Yeah. If you drew a permanent marker at this position all the way around your turbo or spinner tool, whatever brand you guys have, find a sweet spot, mark it. Because if I'm cutting a dirty line right here,
You want it on that part.
and I'm going to move sideways, I'm going to do this. Because the shape of the room, the layout makes me go sideways. I'm going to walk forward and backwards. I'm going to go this way. And then the other grout joint on this side, this happens to be what, a 10-inch tile simulation, whatever. We have 12-inch tile. We have 16-inch tile, 18-inch tile, 20-inch tile. We have 36 by 36-inch tile. How do you use this ergonomically? The
So
tile.
Mark, explain that one more time. That's really good. I think it's a great point. Please explain that one more time. Turn the tool over. Show us the sweet spot.
That's the blast zone. Remember,
Right.
these jets are 3 degrees. I'm sorry. No, they're 5. So a 5-degree jet is very skinny. And that blast zone is what's cleaning filthy textured surfaces like grout, stone, whatever.
Gotcha.
And it is spinning around really fast depending on the pressure you have in your machine. If you barely have 900, if I have a guy who says, oh, I can clean great with 700 PSI, and I go, okay. And he may. If this spins around at 700 with 700 PSI, but it's spinning much slower than if it had 2000 PSI, this is spinning really slow compared to a lightning speed of, you can't even see the spray bar.
Right.
With 2000 PSI, there is no spray bar, but don't put your finger down in it. You'll find there is a spray bar. It's invisible while it's flying, and you'll feel it once you hit it. So the sweet spot is this many inches away, wherever the center of that blast zone is, and it's only, what, an inch away from the floor, 3/4 to an inch, depending on how this is adjusted. We're going to talk about adjusting your swivel in a minute. But right now, I want you to understand the proximity of power, P of P. The proximity of power is in this radial zone. In the middle, nothing's happening. But when you push the tool from here to here,
you're creating it.
This spray bar flying through here, the jet is hitting, is going right across the tile. And when it gets to that grout joint right there, it's hitting it. But it hits it for just such a second, a short
split second,
going away.
So is it better? So Mark, is it better just to move slower forward or better to slide it sideways?
Sideways is up to you. It's the ergonomics of the room you're cleaning. If you're in a really small room and you're down a hall and you got a grout joint, you may go sideways. If it's a big room and you want to, here's what I do. I'm going to simulate the exact action on the floor. I go up from where my start is. I cut over to overlap 15 to 20%. Why? Because there's a blast zone and a suction zone. The distance between blast zone and suction is a dead space. There's no blasting going on. There's suction going on.
Hold your camera up a little bit more so we can see the tool, Mark.
So I move this way, this way, and come back. Then I move this way and come back.
Nice.
I'm covering the room just like how do you mow a lawn? You guys have mowed a lawn.
So Mark, you're moving over 90% instead of 100%.
Yeah, you have a little overlap to allow for this missed blast zone.
Exactly, for that blast zone.
So
in other words, you move forward, come back over, start another one at the 90% mark, do the same with each one. That makes sense.
Now,
because when I clean when I personally clean carpets, I do 50% overlaps. I overlap every stroke 50%.
I've done 50-50 when I had a thick layer of wax. I emulsified it, but it's just needing a little more punch, a little more time with my hot water blasting. And I would go 50. You guys know.
Okay, good.
Learn how to use the tool. You just have to practice the
so you're saying the dirtier it is, the more you overlap, just like carpet.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
So we're going to talk also about what's going on here. The angle of the jet's fixation is 24 degrees. That's not a magic number. That's just an averaging decision we made to decide what is the average truck mount going to need to drive this guy so he spins effectively. If he was straighter up and down, now you notice these jets are actual elbows, mounted elbows, brass elbows. Yeah. This is one of our old iterations that never went into production. Well, they went into production for a while. As we talked about earlier, the iteration that used a bent spray bar. The reason we changed is we wanted less real estate in this zone. We wanted more room for the deck, more room for suction. And so we changed from this bent bar. This was actually a very economically affordable bar. It was bent down and then back up. But that required a bunch of space where this jet only requires that much space. You can see
look at that. Nice.
Huge difference, right? That affects the whole geometry of a tool. So we had to do that. We also didn't like how the jets kept getting whacked by, I don't know, you guys sometimes go clean a corner of a step and you whack it. I watched a video where a guy was cleaning a car with it. Are you kidding me?
How?
It came over the fender and the light, and I knew he hit the car. I heard it. And I don't think he wanted to show the video because it would be an embarrassment to anyone watching it. Yeah, the
It's
weirdest stuff.
embarrassing me just hearing it.
So when this jet gets knocked out of a proper position, it's going to get knocked this way. I taught a class in Dallas for Cobb Carpet, and the guys, one guy that had bought the tool a year ago brought it in and says, "Yeah, I'm not getting much cleaning." And I go, "Well, show me your tool." You guys got to be smart, and if you're not smart about a given subject or a product, get smart as you can. Because if you don't, you would do what this guy did. He brought in a turbo. It was this old version right here. And it was when we switched over to this spray bar. And he brought in a tool that had this jet completely horizontal and this jet completely horizontal. Now, do I need to speak and say anything about that problem? Why that's a problem?
Yeah, well, Mark, that's what's good about going over all this, so people can do that. So maybe we should add troubleshooting to it. That's a good point.
This is either troubleshooting or maintenance. I would call it visual maintenance. What are the things you do to this when you turn it over? What do you see right now? I see a lot of lint inside the version. You guys see lint? How about
How would you clean that?
How about some string and thread? If you see that in there, you picked it up. Now, should you pre-vacuum every single job you do? I don't. I'll sweep if there's bulky debris, of course. Popcorn seeds, airsoft pellets, Lego pieces. They're going to wedge in here, get stuck, and restrict your airflow and your efficiency. So just check your own tool. It's like a wand. You get a bunch of objects in there. Are you going to just say, "Oh, it's okay. It still sucks"?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm losing efficiency. All right, so you pull it. You know how I clean this? I use a 0 degree Rotomax nozzle. Anyone know what that is? It's pretty cool. I have one right here.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
Well, wait a minute. Say it again.
It's a Rotomax or turbo nozzle. Well, you taught me off.
Are you talking about for pressure washing?
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what it is. Yep.
Ceramic.
Wow, that cleans it out?
Ceramic and on ceramic.
Yeah.
It's either quick disconnect. This is a pressure washing nozzle. You can take that off and put a QD we're familiar with, or you can screw this right on the end of your gun, your pressure wash lance, your Hydroforce injection sprayer. You can make a version for this.
But that's not going to be enough pressure on your Hydroforce.
No, no. But I convert my Hydroforce. I got to do another hack class.
I know what you're talking about. I do the same thing, so I can use the gun separately. Yes.
So how do you clean this out? Do you go sideways? Well, you can, but the blast goes in and hits the fin. Now this fin seal's been worn off or pulled off or whatever. It's gone.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have an actual new brush ring. Well, here we go. Here's a tired one. Did you see the fin seal?
Yes.
This is the part that creates the seal. The brush is on the other side of that fin seal. The brush is to give you a surface to wear against.
Okay. How do you clean that? That's a good question.
What creates the seal is the fin seal, not the brushes.
Yeah.
The hard boot doesn't have those dual components. It's just a hard boot. And when it wears down, it gets flatter and flatter till it's real sharp cornered like this side. You see how sharp those corners are, those edges?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's going to catch a tile that's a little high. So when you're going this way and it hits a tile, it's going to just stop your whole tool. That's a problem. But when you wear out a ring like this on tile, it's not really meant for tile. It's meant for concrete driveways, for pavers, brick,
garages.
Yeah, it's for surfaces that are rough, even sandstone or quartzite.
And Mark, that just sounds so backwards to most people.
I know it does.
People do it just the opposite. That's why I wanted to do this class.
And when you buy it, this is the first thing that's on the dang tool. I've talked to TurboForce and told them, don't install it and give them this boot ring. They use it forever. And then you know what's wrong? What's more wrong with this? You wearing it out and saying it just picks up water better. That's the argument. Everyone here is going to say, yeah, it picks up better water than the brush ring. Guess what? You haven't broken in your ring yet. The bristles on these, when they come out of the box new, are a little longer than the skirt.
Yeah, so I take them out on the concrete and break them in first.
So trim them with the nail clipper, burn them on the concrete, get it broken in.
That's what I do, burn them on the concrete.
Stop whining about the brush. It is actually a better brush for picking up water because it flexes better into the grout joint. This guy, the reason I want to scare the bejeebers out of you guys using this on polished
Scratch the floor.
porcelain,
Yeah. Hmm.
polished porcelain, even though porcelain's harder than marble, travertine, onyx, vinyl, VCT. If you use this on VCT and it's a dark floor and you're stripping and you're using this and you scratch that floor, it's because of this, not because of this. This will not scratch anybody's floor.
Hey,
unless
Mark,
Yeah.
set them down side by side, and go back through each one of them. When would you use each one? Just for
This
the audience, just the brush ring.
This is for almost all tile cleaning. Can you use it on the concrete? Yes, but you'll notice that the bristles create so much drag and friction that you don't want to use it on concrete. Plus, you're wearing out the bristles really fast if on concrete. This is for concrete, cool deck, brick pavers, concrete pavers, sandstone, quartzite, really rough, craggy surfaces, exposed aggregate, where they wash some of the concrete off when they're pouring the sidewalk and they want the pebbles to show. This is what this is for.
Right.
Because you're going to wear this out like crazy, and you cannot push this on a sandy or gritty texture. It won't even move because of all those little fingers of bristle, all those fiber bristles. This is meant, and this is made of a plastic. It is not Teflon. That's another thing. I wish people would never say Teflon again. It's not a wand guard.
Mark, they're always going to say Teflon. I'm sorry.
This is, call it a poly ring. It's a poly ring. It's
I like that. Poly ring probably sounds good. Mm-hmm.
This plastic is called ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, UHMWP. If you want to say UHMWP, great, you're a geek. If you want to say poly ring, you're just like all of us. You're a nice
poly ring sounds good. Mm-hmm.
But if you say Teflon, you're kind of a dummy.
All right.
You just don't know better. Anyway,
so,
Teflon,
that handles
if it
the
were
brushes.
Teflon, it would wear out in a week. It would be gone in a week. Teflon is not an abrasive.
Well, Teflon is supposed to be self-healing.
Yeah, you can't put back an eighth of an inch of powdered Teflon. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Self-healing means if you get it scratched with something like a carpet tack strip, etc. So
that's
this
just
guy will wear in. You want to use him on almost everything, and this on just rough outdoor work or a sandstone rough surface. Now we'll talk about why do we stay with the one? Well, because to change it is just kind of a hassle, right? It's not that much hassle. We're going to demonstrate how to do that. A good Phillips head number 1. This is a number 1 screw. I don't have a Phillips head number 1. I have a Phillips head number 2. That's the most common Phillips out there. It's just, drywall screws. Everything uses a number 2. A number 1 is fat, blunt, and bulky. But guess what? A number 2 will actually work. It doesn't get as good a bite. You're going to remove these 3 screws. The reason I don't have 3 is we lost one. This is my wall hanger on my wall of shame, just to show you. I didn't want to go find a screw just for this demonstration. You back out your screws. Put them aside.
Do you have to take, Mark, do you have to take the handle off?
No, don't have to take my handle's off because it doesn't hang on the wall real pretty.
I know. I just want people to understand that. That's all.
Yeah. I could actually use this one, but it's got some goofy wood screws in it. So once you do that, you have these little tangs. Sometimes these break and they're non-existent anymore on each side. My original design was worked with a brilliant man who's no longer, he had a congenital heart defect and he died. I attended his funeral. He's an incredible guy. I could tell you stories about the things he's made that's amazing. The security cockpit door used in all aircraft was his design.
Wow.
He has a chair in the Smithsonian that was designed by him, and it's on permanent display at the Smithsonian. Brilliant.
So what do you call those tines on the side?
These tongs, these little flaps are locks. You take one hand. I don't have, this is going in my belt loop, gentlemen. Okay. 2 hands.
That looks good, Mark.
Pull. You're going to lift up, and you're going to either drop out because it's a well-worn tool like this one, or you're going to take your hand and bop it in the middle. That separates it. Now, what won't happen if you still have your high-pressure line still hooked up? It won't come completely apart because look what's in the way. This hose right here is still inside, and I can't pull this off. So the new tools, this is a permanent one that you had to unscrew with a fitting, but the new tools had a QD, a quick disconnect. It's a mini QD. You just pull the collar. You know what a QD is, right, guys?
Yeah, of course. Quick disconnect.
So this one had a mini one. You pull it, push the hose in, and the collar back, it'll just pop right off. Now you're clear. You can pull these completely separate from each other with no restriction. You can set it aside and you go, oh my gosh, there's enough yarn in here to knit a sweater for my hamster. And you're going to clean it out because you're in a perfect spot to take out the BBs, the airsoft, the popcorn, whatever's in the way. And now you're going to see your brush ring or your hard boot ring that you can take off by just, I'm trying to find a sweet spot, pulling it off, and it's ready to replace. If I want to put on a new one, I insert the ring in. You see the
How do you
drop
know? Okay, keep going. After this, let us know how do you know when to replace it?
fit. Sometimes they're extra tight fits because manufacturing, and since I no longer control turbo force in you, look at that, more goopy hairballs and stuff. So clean it out while you're here. Pressure wash it if you want. All this is hardened calcium and wax residue, and who knows, a lot of history in here. Again, I've had this tool probably 20 years. Used it many jobs. Gone through many brushes. But you're in a position to go fix and clean. So you put your brush ring in, or if you're going to make it a hard boot ring, you're going to put the hard boot ring in. A poly boot. What do you want to call it?
All right, finish putting it back together.
Okay, so now you do it differently. You're going to hold it up in your hands, side to side. Let's see if I can. I wish we could go wide angle here. You're going to go ahead and insert this in, but you got to line up some things, right? You've got the vacuum compensator here.
Yeah.
And you've got the hole for the vacuum compensator here. So
right.
Put them, line them up,
Turn
start
around.
bringing them together. I'm going to have to put this on a table and down because you're not getting a good picture of this.
Actually, it wasn't too bad, but go ahead.
That's what's great about having a camera person, right? All right, I'm going to move Muhammad to the mountain. How about that? All right. So now that they're kind of together, I'm now going to line them up perfectly. Now, see how that wasn't that lined up? I thought I did a good job of lining it up. It's off. It ain't coming together till you line those up. Spin them together, get them lined up.
Move it more towards the floor. We can see it better.
Yeah, where? Oh,
move it. There you go, right there. That's good. It's perfect.
Okay. Sorry, I got to be looking at my own monitor. So now it's lined up, and all I do is take one hand on the outside of this deck, just spread my fingers, turn my hand here, spread my fingers, and just push together. And I heard a click. Guess what that click was?
It's a little time sketching.
Coming back in over the edge. That's what we're trying to do. In fact, if you look real close, I don't know if you can do it. Let's see if I can do it right here.
They clicked into place.
Yeah, do you see that little? There's a little wedgy thing, and inside, I'm going to pop it apart again. I want you to see this so you always understand what's going on. Now, this is the proper way to change your boots and rings. I'll show you the improper way. See this big detent, this big cut channel in here?
Yes.
That's where this little finger, this little projection is going into.
Goes in
this
there.
one
Gotcha.
here, this one here.
Gotcha.
So that's what that's about. Our original design was we don't need tools. We just have these two tangs. Well, sometimes we had some of these shipped and they were broken in the box. They were just broken because they're kind of frail. They're flexible.
Yeah.
And this is ST nylon. It has a certain glass content, fiberglass in it to make it strong and rigid and heat resistant. And that's why those broke, is because they're a little bit more brittle, not flexible. Here we are going together. Listen for the click. Yep, that's half click. Oh, there we go. Both sides are now in. The finger tangs have relaxed into the inward position. But even if they're gone and broken, don't worry about it. Guess who's really doing all the muscle, all the work?
The screws.
Screws. There's brass bosses in there. I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, there they are. You can see that little brass boss. And so they're in to stay. They're solid. And just get them tightened in.
Now, Mark, while you're doing that, do you recommend as soon as the tile tool shows up to your house or your place of business to go ahead and take off the poly ring and put on the brush ring?
You shouldn't have a poly ring 90% of the time.
But it comes.
hanging in my
it
van.
comes but it comes from the factory 100% of the time with a poly ring.
I know. I can't
I'm
change
saying,
them.
should you go ahead and change it immediately? Would that
Change
be
it
the best
immediately.
bet? That's what I
Don't
think.
get hooked on the addiction of, well, this is the boot that came. It must be the boot I should always use.
Right.
And
I want
and
everybody to
you'll get
understand
used to
that.
it. You'll like it until you won't. You won't like it when this radius. I don't know if you can see the radius here. This is a very healthy radius. There's no flat spot. It's completely radius right here. When this
Right.
gets flat and flat and flat and flat, you're going to hate the dang thing because every single piece of lippage tile is going to stop you dead. It's going to stop.
Smack. Yeah.
You're just going to be stopped, and it's real frustrating. So you shouldn't be using it anyway. And when you scratch your first travertine or marble floor because you use this boot,
You'll be hating life.
I've had guys almost in tears calling me saying, "Why do you make a boot?" I had to pay a guy $12 a square foot to fix a lady's floor
Ooh.
because I scratched it, and he was just
Well, he
beside
didn't. I mean, in all fairness, he didn't prep the floor properly either.
No, he didn't. It's not that he didn't prep the floor. This boot literally had debris from a rough out construction job he did,
Gotcha.
and it worked great on that old concrete. But what's on the concrete floor? I don't know. Pieces of glass.
I've seen little nails stuck in them. Believe it or not.
Of course, and
You know?
you're flying along, and this plastic is tough, but it'll still get inserted with grit, and that's what happens. And you don't see it while you're doing it because when a marble floor or a floor that's getting scratched, you don't see those scratches till it dries.
Right.
Then it gets scary. But you were doing these V shapes, these W's all over the floor, and you don't know you were doing it. Guys did it forever. Guys are still doing it. Now, if I can shout on my soapbox today, it's going to be, please take your hard boot ring, use it for how it was designed for brick, pavers, aggregate, concrete. Do not use it on tile, even though you're not going to scratch a tile.
Does it go pretty easily across aggregate?
With the boot, absolutely.
Really?
It just glides. You should do it. You should try it, Rob.
I'm gonna have to. I get some aggregate.
You really should try it.
Okay.
So, likewise, the brush ring goes so nice over ceramic tile. It goes fine, and it picks up water better. And if you have a problem not picking up all the water, try the hack I just taught you about using a wet microfiber. Throw it over your compensator and get some restriction going. You'll pick up even more water. And you
Mark,
can justify.
How do you know when the brush ring is bad?
Oh, that's a good one. We got so many people calling up and they're wondering, how come my plastic, those fingers no longer hold a ring in?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. They had this ring so worn down that they were now wearing the darn fingers. So guess what they got to buy today?
Yeah.
They got to buy a new ring, a new inner shell.
Inner shell, yeah, shell.
They just got lazy and said, "Oh, it still works." Of course, it still works.
Wow.
Or how about this? How about this one? And we're going to cover this really quick now. How are we for time, Rob?
Oh, we're over time, but it's okay. It's okay.
Right, I know. If everyone starts falling asleep, put a sleepy face on and say, "Yeah, I'm getting bored." So when this tool and this swivel union down here called the spinner, this is the spray bar. This is the spinner. I mean, these are crude terms, but this is a bar and it's doing the spraying. This is what's doing the spinning, the bearing under here, and the swivel. You can call it swivel if you want. But when that is out of improper adjustment, that's this nut that surrounds this. You can't turn this nut here. All the nuts adjustments are made at the top nut. If you watch this or look at this, you can see the nut is barely on. It has no threads exposed. That tells me this swivel is too low. I need to bring that swivel up. To do that, I loosen this big nut with a crescent or a big open end wrench. It doesn't matter what you use. Just get it loosened all the way so that this will drop down and expose enough area for this swivel nut to now be adjusted down.
Nice.
I want this swivel nut in here to come down. Why? Because look how close this spray bar flying around is to the very bottom.
Yeah.
Now, it's got a whole half inch between the hard boot and the jet, so you're still safe. But what if this boot was even lower and shorter and worn out? You're kissing death here. And there's many times where this jet starts actually dragging the tile, leaving scrapes. Who's going to fix that for you?
Well, I mean, if you got that many miles on, it's time to replace the shell. You know, if
Well, the
you
shell, no,
and
the
if you
shell,
neglect, I'm
this
saying if
shell is
you
over 20 years old, my friend. It
no,
doesn't ever get old.
I'm saying
The
if he's
boots,
neglected it and worn the boot down so far
yeah.
that it's worn out
If
that's
you're starting to
ridiculous.
wear out tabs here, then
Yes,
you it's like, oh, my tires are bald now, but well, I'll just keep driving it, even though the rims are kind of sparky right now.
right.
You know, I can still roll, so let's stay on the rims.
Yeah.
Let's keep using the car. So adjust this. It's not hard. Just do it. Another bit of maintenance. This has a weep hole in it. How do you know when your swivel has died or is leaking, is failed? Or here's one, freeze thaw. This is wintertime. You guys know that you don't put your truck mount and equipment, your valves, your valve guns, your heat exchangers, and expose them to sub-zero or sub-freezing temperatures,
You're gonna
or
pay
they
for
will
it. Yeah.
expand. The metal will crack.
Hmm.
Fittings, valves, heat exchangers, everything that has water in it must expand. And water, frozen water, has more power than any strong piece of metal. It's going to expand and crack. Well, inside of a swivel are ceramic seals and stainless steel bearings. Those bearings, if they're exposed to water, I'm sorry, the balls are not stainless, the races are not stainless. If they get exposed to water, they're going to what? Just a wild guess. They're going
Sorry,
to
I
rust.
was answering some questions inside there, Mark, in the chat.
Oh, yeah, they're going to rust when exposed to water. So why would we
Well,
expose it to water?
and what was
Because
that again? Can you
seals,
back up and let me know what that was again?
if water gets to the bearings, they're going to rust, and when the bearings
Gotcha.
go, it's a grindy sound. It's grrr, and it's just they're not.
Yes.
It won't spin freely either
Right.
because your bearings are rusted and starting to seize up.
And how did water get in there again?
Water got in there because two reasons. You started metering acid for some strange reason, like, oh, it's okay. I'm not talking of an acid rinse. I'm talking
Right.
acid. Just, somehow your lines were full of urine treatment or something, or you let it freeze. You cannot let
Freezing.
any of your tools freeze. There's moisture, there's water inside of this spray bar, the bars, the swivels, the jets. And unless you every night blow out with air all of your water, you still have a chance of having a pocket of water somehow settling somewhere. So don't be careless with the hazard of wintertime freeze. I'm in Arizona. You think
Mark,
it freezes
well,
here?
Mark, why didn't you make it freeze thaw stable?
I did. Oh yeah, it's a $2,000 model, and it has a built-in heater core.
Oh,
And the
there you
heater will
go.
heat that
Now you're
up, and you got to make
talking.
sure it's plugged in though, and your timer, your power doesn't fail.
Funny
So
guy. Funny guy.
adjust that, make sure it's right. If you get a clogged jet, why do you get a clogged jet? Because you carelessly did not keep your inline filter checked regularly. You let debris get in, or you let the filter get so clogged
Can you show
that the
them where their
pressure
inline
around it
filter
after
is,
the
Mark?
spring caved in.
Can you show them where the inline filter is?
It's at the top of your. Let me make sure I even have a working model.
Do you have a handle there?
Yeah, I got lots of handles, but no inline space. So it's going to be located right here next to your swivel, right
Right.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys take them off because they're a nuisance. They're heavy hardware, whatever reason.
Big
If,
mistake.
if you filter the water coming before the gun, you're going to save the gun of getting a piece of debris caught between the seat and
Right.
the ball and the pin.
Right.
All that action in there can get a piece of debris, and now you're stuck. You got a turbo that won't turn off because it's clogged open. So the screen is right here. It's easy to change. Just look at it.
I think I'll make a YouTube video showing all these things, in quick succession. But in the
Yeah, it
meantime,
doesn't
this is
matter if
really
it's
good
turbo
knowledge.
or SX12. If it doesn't have an inline filter, then they don't care about you. You need to put your own filter in because having a jet clogged is a hassle. So how do you guys clean jets in your carpet wands, your upholstery tools? You take that little needle that you keep in a secret place and you dig it out and you start poking it down there in the jet. These are stainless steel jets.
Yeah, but
We
you're gonna
use the
mess those
hardened
jets up if
IMEG
you
jet.
do.
So the jets
I
we chose were IMEGs, which means they can take higher pressure, and they're for pressure washing, the IMEG. And this particular one is an 0502. It's a 5-degree angle. It's a 1.1 gallon per minute nozzle, meaning only 1.1 gallon comes through here, 1.1 gallon comes through here. That's 2.2. That's what your pump needs to have the capacity to drive, not just PSI. I could go to Home Depot and buy 2,700 psi pressure washer, and I can run a turbo, right?
No,
No.
you need the GPH.
It does 0.5 GPM. Do you think that's close
GPMs,
to
gallon per
2.2?
minute, yeah.
No. It'll just drizzle. It won't even spin, let alone spray hard, because it's got too much opening. You need opening, you need GPM, which is flow, and you also need PSI to effectively clean hard surfaces. So,
Give me the ideal ranges, Mark, of GPMs and pressure.
well, truck mounts are all over the place. I get it. Entry
They are.
levels, big bad
Mhm.
boys. There's some that are big and bad, but they still, like a Butler only gives 1,500 psi. Hydromaster, before
Yeah.
they improved, they were only recommended 900 psi. Will 900 clean? Will 1,000 clean? Will 700 clean? Yeah, but if you divide that pressure, that force of action by 2 jets, you have half as much impact. Hard math, right? Half
And
as much.
and many of those smaller truck mounts have only 3 and 4 size pumps.
Yeah, 3 gallons per minute, 4 gallons per minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a range. Again, the turbo works best at 2.2 gallons or more,
Okay, 2.2 or more.
and the swivel is rated for 4,000 psi. Who
Wow.
has 4,000, right?
Yeah.
What did they finally stamp on here? This swivel is dated 7 of 2006, guys.
Whew.
That's the swivel that went on there.
Wow.
That was when we just started with our custom logo branded swivel right on the top.
Nice. Nice.
So the action of pressure and GPM together is what flushes filth out of porous textured surfaces. And we're just trying to bring it together. Suction
Well,
doesn't clean
Mark,
pores, it just gets the mess away.
now you just mentioned it flushes it out. Explain where it's at in the soil is located in grout and how
Okay,
it's
that's
there,
easy.
how
This
it's
is one of the
hold on,
reasons
how
why.
it's impacted, and also on natural stone. Go ahead.
All right, so there's 2 reasons why Mrs. Jones can't clean her own darn floors. Why are we professionals called in? Because she can only get so much clean, and she's really not. She's using rag on stick, and a rag on stick is the most effective way to redeposit or redistribute filth.
Yep, goes
I
right
love
inside the
that.
grout
That's
lines.
telling
Pop.
it all.
Yep.
So we are using what's the next tool of choice? A brush. We
Right.
bring a brush in. The rag ain't working. The rag on stick ain't working. So we bring in a brush. How big are the bristles of a brush?
Pretty
Well,
wide.
depending on which size brush you have, how bulky, how fine. If a bristle is too fine, it becomes a paintbrush. It's not going to do anything. It's so fluffy and soft. It's a great makeup brush,
So
but it ain't going
fluffy.
to cut dirt out of a textured surface. So the
Correct.
2 reasons why grout can't be cleaned for Mrs. Jones with a mop is the grout is porous and it is sandy in texture. Tell me how
Gotcha.
a cushy rag is going to wipe dirt from around sandpaper. It ain't
True.
even going to move. So
True.
pressure doesn't care where the dirt is. It's more complete at cleaning. So why wouldn't a CRB work? I got 5 different brushes or 4 different brushes I can select on my CRB, and none of them are scaled right. The finest bristle, which is for what? What do we use the finest, the white bristle?
For wool and stuff.
Yeah, delicate fibers we don't want to beat up too
Mhm.
hard. And how about textured engineered wood actually can work pretty dang good because those little grooves in that wood is
Right in there.
really, really tiny. And to use a
So you're getting that.
CRB, it's
You're
going to
getting that
connect with
flex.
the
But
dirt.
Mark, I personally like the blue brushes for tile and grout. I find they still get down inside the grooves.
Okay, but where the grooves are what? The grout.
Grout lines. The grout
And the
lines.
grout line isn't even a groove. It's a saddle joint. It has a
A saddle
gentle,
joint. I know, but that's how we
saddle.
identify them as. Yeah.
And that gentle saddle sometimes isn't a gentle saddle. Give me an example, a scenario of a non-gentle saddle. I just talked to a guy today.
Whatever that travertine is etched on the sides. What do you call it again? The travertine that's not smooth cut on the outsides.
Oh, chiseled edge,
Chiseled edge. Yeah. Is that what you mean? Chiseled edge?
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about the kind of jobs these guys, all of us walk into from time to time where they're pathetically tooled. They are so deep, call it a ditch.
Oh yeah.
Call it
Yeah.
a canal because it ain't
Yeah.
a grout joint. It's not an
Yeah.
acceptable
That's
grout
true.
joint.
I see what you're saying.
It's just what you got to work with. Now, how are you going to clean that with a brush? It ain't even going to touch. Not one bristle is going to even wisp across that grout. you are stuck. And even a 175 that you're tipping the angle of the handle real hard and you're going to grind that up and down the legend.
Yeah.
You're sort of kissing it better. But so guess who doesn't give a rat's where the dirt is hiding? Pressurized water. Doesn't care how deep the crevice, how deep the canal ditch is. It will take it out.
Bring it on.
You want to
Bring
get
it
a
on.
fine. You want to get a fine tooth. Let me get my not so favored tool. The most favored brush in the world next to pressure. Micro bristled stainless grout brush, right?
I find myself only using those on commercial jobs. In residential, I'll just go ahead and use a regular V brush.
Right. And why is that? Because commercial restaurants, movie theaters, they're so filthy dumped with layers. Historical.
They're impacted.
Layers.
Yeah, I call it impacted grease. Yes.
Impacted. Yeah, it's the new layer.
Yeah.
And so this just helps agitate. But even as tiny as those bristles are, they're getting closer to addressing. Let me see if I can get that. Those tiny little filaments are just starting to get closer to getting the dirt out from between those grits of sand.
Yes.
Pressure, like I say, is king. Heat is queen, and the right chemistry marries the two together. It is the absolute finish to a filthy job that you have to try to reverse or restore grout out of.
Agree.
So,
very much agree.
I use it occasionally, but I cheat. I've got 3,000 psi if I need. I've got 2,500 on my other truck mount if I need it, and I use them all the time because I don't want to scrub. I don't want to bring in a secondary machine if I don't have to.
Mark. Okay, Mark. I'm going to play the devil's advocate on here and just keep bringing things up. A lot of guys say, "Well, I'm not going to use high pressure because I'm going to blow the grout out."
Oh, I love that line. That's the most common thing I hear.
Yep.
A certain friend on another forum says, Markovic just wants to blow grout out so he can make money fixing it.
Yeah, you don't have to say who that is. I can hear it right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if grout is weak, it was weak the day it was laid. We need to have a whole class, guys, on it's called pre-inspection protocol. How do I know I'm not walking into a stinker of a job? I don't want to own a job that's going to bite me in the butt. That's called the 10-point pre-inspection. If you pre-inspect, you won't own a thing. In fact, you're going to glean the service income from fixing any of those 10 points of pre-inspection. Hollow tiles, cracked tiles, chipped tiles, uninstalled tiles, bad grout, weak grout, soft grout. Mm-hmm. Why are we walking away? How many of you guys walk away from a carpet job and can't clean it because, there's a weak seam. I see it. It's clearly in the air flapping. Can you run a rotary over it? No. Can you run a wand? Yeah, carefully if I go with the seam, not against the seam. Why are you walking on little delicate eggs? We are not snowflakes. We are professionals that want to fix things. And in the process, we're going to make money because Mrs. Jones only wants it fixed. She will gladly pay you. Well, wait a minute. I don't fix carpet. I'm a carpet cleaner. I'm not a carpet installer. Ma'am, Mrs. Jones, call a carpet installer. Guess what Mr. Carpet Installer says? I don't repair carpet. Your carpet's old. Let's go get you a whole house of carpet. How about that?
So you're saying that's why pre-inspection is so critical.
Right. Don't own a problem you didn't create, number one, and look for the opportunity to serve a customer and add income to your bottom line. You're becoming wonderful to her. You fix something she's been bothering you for 5 years, but nobody wants to help her. So go get a knee kicker, go get a power stitcher, go get a course on repair, and figure out how little it really costs you in equipment and a class and get comfortable with it. Why are people not doing these things? They're not comfortable with it.
Or Mark, like what we do, we sub it all out. We have a strategic alliance with a wonderful carpet repairman. He's been doing it for like 25, 30 years.
You said sub it out. What does sub mean? It means you're getting paid to refer somebody. So you're not losing anything. You have confidence that you built. The customer is pleased that you helped her.
Absolutely.
Him, and you are going to make
money. You know what? When I say we sub it out, we legitimately sub it out. So the job goes through us rather than going through. This isn't a referral. This is a sub.
You collect. The guy works for you. He sends you the bill. You pay the bill, and you get collected from the customer. And that's the way it could be. I'm a do-it-all guy. Much to my, I've got power stretchers and knee kickers and seaming irons and sink irons, and and I've got to process.
Okay, Mark, I'm gonna bring up another problem. People say.
I love your devil's advocate scenarios.
But I hate to be the devil's advocate, but I'm just maybe I should find another word for that. But anyway, okay, hey, I'm getting halos. I'm getting crop circles
From using a turbo or a spinner tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiger
That's
stripe.
easy.
What you might call
What
it.
you did, there's two scenarios for a crop circle. I don't like to call them crop circles because they should be geometric exotic designs. Let's call them donut cuts. All right. So if
What'd
you
you call
are
it
burning
again?
a ring, you are burning a clean ring, but you're doing it for two reasons. If your spray bar has a drag in it, you've got full pressure, but for some reason you have threads or hair, long hairs wrapped around the spindle, and this isn't able to fly anymore. He's going like a dog. He's going way too slow, and he's getting slower and slower the more accumulation happens. But I'm getting full pressure here. So what's happening is he's going at a slower rate of speed. And when I say slow, he could be going this fast, but that's still considered slow.
Right, exactly.
For me, proper speed is this guy's invisible. You do not see this when 2000.
That is a good point. I was just about to ask you, how do you know if you flip it over and like on the driveway and you turn it on, what is the proper speed?
I don't have a tack and I didn't install one.
No,
so
I'm saying,
looking for this
you
guy.
just said visually.
Yeah, you can hear it hum. You'll get used to your tool. The longer you own it, the more you can hear it. Dang, I can tell this thing ain't spinning. And then you just look at it. I've had a spray bar go this slow once. And I go, okay, we either got a slow flow, some filters clogged, I'm not getting any pressure. But if I hold it and those jets are ripping, blasting, but she's going kind of slow, I got a problem with my bearings, my swivel, my seals. Something broke. Here's another thing that will cause a failure of your seals or your bearings. Now, when the seals go, the bearings are next. Remember, the seals keep water away from the bearings. There are two sets of bearings, and there are two seals, and they're made of porcelain. Yeah, right? Why would porcelain, something brittle and delicate, be inside of something that I see guys with a big handle going bonk, bonk on the ground trying to get popcorn seeds or grit or rocks out of their grip. Guys, don't name your tool.
I'd be pissed if my employees did that.
Get you a darning needle or some kind of just flick it out, pull it out, separate your decks, get it out. But don't be banging this thing, because when you do that, especially when it's spinning, what's happening is you are making one seal slam against the other seal, and they are porcelain, and they're going to smack the wrong way one of these times. I've banged it a few times, and I know how hard to bang, and I'm taking a risk that I'm going to shatter the seal. Once you shatter a seal, water's going to get past it, and they'll get out of alignment. The seals are little tiny donuts. There's a hole through the middle, and they're so perfectly honed, they look like glass when you shine light off of those seals. And when you put two of them together, if one seal's laying here and another seal's here, and I push them and wiggle, I can lift this seal up and hold it for like 5 seconds before the other one falls off. That's called pneumatic adhesion. Air is holding them together like suction. And as soon as air starts getting between them and the weight of that other seal, it'll finally fall off. That's how perfect they're honed together. And that's why water won't get through them, because water's too big to get through these seals. It's crazy. Of all the pressure, 2,000 PSI will not get through that seal.
Isn't that something? Yeah,
it lives on a cushion of water, a thin cushion of water, but water can't pass through. It's a weird thing. When they do fail, you'll get weeping going. That's where there's a tiny hole in the side of your barrel. And the reason you can't see it most of the time is it's buried behind a nut, under a nut. Oh, looky, guys, we're going to be able to do a demonstration here. So I pull that off, lower it, and now I can adjust my nut there. That nut, remember I told you before?
Yeah, and what's the ideal adjustment?
Just get this guy out of the zone. Get him in a safe zone right now. Watch him. I'm going to drop him down right there. He just dropped down the lowest part that I just adjusted him to. Now he's way down here where before he was on the edge of that radius right there. He's now down in a nice safe zone. You don't want him so low that he starts scraping the deck, right? You don't want to scrape that.
Right. So you want to just barely above that.
Tight, they were scraping this deck flying around. So that's a good spot. Don't get out a ruler. Just use your head to figure out why things are where they are. Now I can adjust this. But before we do, I wanted to show you the weep hole.
get this out without taking the darn nozzle. No, that elbow's not going to let me come through. So let me pull the nut up. Here we go. Let's see.
I saw the weep hole before, and other people probably haven't. And once that weep hole goes, do you have to replace the whole swivel?
Once water starts oozing out, there it is, guys. You see it?
It's too late. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Once water starts coming out, you got a very short window of time to where you can rebuild it.
Oh.
Now, who rebuilds them? Almost nobody.
Yeah, nobody.
Zero Res found the O-rings and some bearings.
Mark, please don't curse when you're on here.
Oh, come on, guys. You don't be insecure. Zero Res has got a right to exist just like you do.
Just kidding, Mark.
Zero Res found a way to rebuild these very efficiently, and they saved a lot of money because they don't have to buy the so-called kit that Mosmatic sells.
Right.
Anyway, that's if you catch it early. Most guys haven't a clue it's leaking. Why? Because it's leaking underneath. Are you going to inspect? You know how to inspect the turbo to see that it's not leaking? You do it while it's in here and while water's flowing, but you're holding it. When you hold this, these two jets are going to spray crazy. Each of these jets are going to be spraying, but it ain't going to be spinning, and you're going to be looking in here for water kind of gushing out or oozing out. Then
Smart.
you know you better check your seals.
Okay, Mark. I've had people bring them in, and sometimes it's knocking. Is that a sign of the swivel bed or is that the shell bed?
Like you said, if this spray bar flies and starts hitting a low side somewhere, it's going to be whacking it and hitting it. You're going to hear it.
So it could be a bent spray bar. How do you know if it's not just the shell that's worn out?
A shell doesn't wear out through gross negligence of letting your ring wear down to where those are no longer there. Look at the texture on this, by the way. Is that wearing out? Yeah. What's causing that? Anybody? How many people can be typing comments? Everyone can comment?
Yeah, everybody can type a comment.
Come on, guys. There's no prize, but tell me I want to hear the first guy to tell me what's happening. Why is that pitted? Anybody?
Not yet.
I think they went to sleep.
No, I think they're scared to answer.
All right. This is because little ricochets of sand fly off the floor, grit, sand. That's bouncing at high rate of speed. Remember this spray bar. Look at the edge of this this nozzle, the directing for what's called the forward edge, the moving edge. That's this side. Does this look sandblasted to you guys?
Sure does.
You bet. Little pieces of sand and rock bounced up over the years and starts chewing this edge up. Look at the thickness between this edge and the back one.
Wow.
They're not 50%, but 1/3 of that is gone. And look at the outer edge. This outer edge here is thinner than the inside edge. Why is that?
Somebody did answer, Mark, and then they said concrete. Well, basically, it's kind of what it is, broken off sand pebbles, right?
Yeah, your grout. Remember, grout's made up of sand.
It's concrete.
Pieces of sand fly up. It's concrete. It's cement. So it's little objects that you're picking up.
Good answer, Mike.
Yep. It's objects. Micro objects, big objects, little objects, metal filings. I don't care. Glass, bits of glass that you...
Hey, Mark, show that edge again.
Of the jet?
No. Show where all the wear and tear is on the shell. On the shell. Point your finger to it now, because it's a good visual.
Yeah, all of those little nicks in there, all those little tiny pits.
Yeah.
Are from my dog chewing on it, right?
Somebody said heavy dirt whacking out the edges. Another guy, Daniel, said, I missed the question. Wife was interrupting.
Yeah. Well, if she's paid for the seminar, she can join us. But
there you go.
All right. So little bits of sand come out. You are using pressure to remove. When guys say, "Oh, I don't want to use that much pressure," it's going to blow grout out. Not if you did your pre-inspection protocol. You've already known that the grout is sucky, that it's soft, that a knife blade goes in. You already know what you're dealing with, and you're prepared. In fact, you want to take out as much grout that's weak. Why? Because you're going to fix it and make another $300-400 on the job.
We probably need to show people how easy it is to mix it up and do it. But
that's a good another grout repair. We're going to cover that on another class.
So
Robert, we're not going to have time for
Bob's asking Bob Willinas is asking the question. So the shell will wear out eventually? I don't think those pits will ever go through that shell, will
No,
they?
this is over 20 years old. Tell me it's going to wear out eventually. It only wears out when we abuse it, and we don't know that we don't let this wear into those tangs. We
Yes.
don't abuse it by driving our truck over it or having it drag behind our car because we didn't know it fell out of the back of our van. I don't know
Right.
what wears it out. I haven't worn it out.
Right. Right.
You've got to be a really bad monkey to abuse it and just beat the crap out of it. You really don't.
Well, Mark, some of us have employees. We're not going to say that.
I know, but this is ST
I
nylon.
know. I
It
know.
is
I'm just kidding.
When we first did this, we drove a Humvee on top. I'm in a military Humvee, not a
Wow.
light duty civilian. We did a Humvee on it, and I really wanted to do a tank, but I couldn't get anybody to
Tank.
accept that we're
Jeez.
going to test the tank.
Yeah.
Um,
You're not going
it
to
is
find
just-
tanks everywhere.
It is heat resistant. I don't know. There's tools that came out right after ours came out, and they were made of ABS. ABS won't take much heat, and it disdains and warps very quickly. So, and there's solvents that can affect some plastics. My son just pointed that out. So let's not make things out of wimpy materials, or it's not going to last long. Now, if I want to sell a ton of these real frequently, I guess I better make it out of cheap crap.
Right. Trying to think of anything else. I think we've
All
about.
right. The
I
jet.
agree,
We
Mike.
never covered
I
the
agree,
jet.
Mike.
I get a clogged jet. What am I going to do? Now, this is a different kind of assembly. This is an elbow. We don't make these this way anymore. We don't make them this way anymore with the bent version that doesn't have an elbow in it. We make it. Oh, I don't even have it in here. This is sad. What's in this one? Yeah, more elbows again. So that was an early generation. These are old. These are museum pieces, guys. I keep them around just to remind me of the history. Let's see what I have under this guy.
Mark, what year did you invent?
This was number 2 iteration. You see the block? It's already welded and fixed with laser welding at a 24-degree angle. But these were costlier. These cost more. They were more weight. We finally did a very streamlined type spray bar, and you see how the center swivel hub is even smaller to cut down materials and weight. And I'm gonna. Oh, good. I didn't have to get a wrench. That's another thing. So, this is good timing, man. You guys get a clogged jet because you let your filter get clogged, and then it caved in, and then it pumped all that debris up into your jets, and you're sitting and go, dang, I only have one jet working because it's making this wobbly sound.
Was that reverse threaded?
Yes, reverse thread.
Okay.
But how do you take it off if it's nice and tight? So this is going on clockwise and off counterclockwise. So how do I separate the two if they're locked in? And they do get kind of stout. You need a stubby. Why stubby? Because guess what? A full wrench ain't going to fit inside your deck. A stubby. Don't buy a snap-on stubby. Go get a cheap 3/4 inch wrench at a pawn shop and break the handle off and make it a stubby and grind the sharp.
That's a lot of work, Mark. That's a lot of work.
All right, we'll pay for.
I'll just go to Harbor Freight and get one. Okay, so pull that off.
Guess what? There. They don't sell single wrenches anymore. It's a whole kit. So okay. Yeah. All right. So once you spin this off, you'll have a tiny O-ring right here. That's the only thing that seals. Remember, this isn't solid pressure. This is working or flowing pressure coming out of here. There's no back pressure built here. This is free flowing. So you don't have to worry about having some high pressure seal going on. This is an O-ring to keep it from leaking, low pressure flow. So right in here, you're going to get debris in there. How do you get it out? It's already clogged one jet all the way, and the other jet's kind of sketchy looking. It's disfigured. When it's disfigured, it's because there's some organic material. Why would it be clogged? Is your truck mount
more likely
water box full of crap?
More likely your filter isn't clean, and it clogged
the other direction. The garden hose you hooked up to. It came from your supply. Yeah. And you've got to have multiple Y strainers or something in your system. And the last step filter is that on the end of your handle right there.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's clean. If somehow it does get dirty, because it can and it will, you lay a quick disconnect and you connect it and you get some crap. It fell on the lawn with some grass clippings. It's going to go inside your water stream. So you can never guarantee you're not going to get debris. But if you do get a clogged jet, you don't get your favorite needle or your favorite steel brush and you don't dig in there and get it unclogged, because why? You're going to disfigure the tiny, delicate, feathered edge of that jet that is made to shape the fan to give you the perfect pattern. And when you dig in,
We've all learned that.
You're going to have a pin jet, just like the ones in your wands that shoot into the carpet and create nice cut streaks because your jet's now ruined and you're never going to fix it again. So
well, let's see it. I'll tell you how I clean them after you, but let's see.
All right. I take this off and I force water the other way. I take my jet off, or my spray bar off, and I have my hydroforce that I've converted to a pressure wand, and I force it backwards right in there. I just wiggle back and forth, and it's going to flow back down here and come out here. Or maybe, because why it falls out here is, guess what? It's going to fall out. It's not going to go onto the other side because it's upside down. These jets are this way when I do it. I put my foot on this, and I aim my wand at this, and it's gushing and flowing and exiting right here. Do it again on this side. Power wash it. If you really, it's a solid fixed object, I use a brass brush. Brass will not disfigure stainless steel, especially these IMEGs. IMEG is just a hardened, it's a hardened metal.
Mark, we use torch tips and they work well.
Right. Now a torch tip is designed to clean out oxyacetylene cutting torches or welding tips. Welding tips are made of soft brass. So your file, that's what a welding tip cleaner is a tiny micro file, is harder than brass. So it files the tip and gets rid of slag that's kind of distorted your flow of oxyacetylene. This, though, is hardened metal, and you're using a hardened metal file. So I'm going to tell you, good if it works, Rob, but you are actually damaging the edges of that delicate feathered edge.
Even with the welding tip, really?
If you use a finer welding tip and are careful like a surgeon, you won't hurt the edge. But you're not.
But not everybody's going to be. Yeah, good point.
Trust me.
I like the pressure wash idea. That's a good
And
idea.
if you use the tip and you didn't take this off, what good is it? All you did is push it in only to come blasting back out again. So the best surgical way, even though you're not looking forward to it, you want an easy, quick fix. You want it to disappear. Some guys say, "Oh, take a torch to it." What?
Oh,
yeah, you
Lord.
heat it up, and well, that'll work if you actually have a piece of wood or organic whatever.
Wow. Yeah.
But if it's a piece of sand, you ain't going to cook it out. You're going to do nothing to it except maybe your Loctite gets burned up.
Yeah.
So that's it. Always clean that out, and don't be messing with the file or a needle, because you're just going to regret it later, and you'll have to buy a new nozzle, which no big deal. Oh, let me talk to you guys about how do you change a nozzle, or the nozzle got put in at a wrong angle and it's like spraying this way.
Yeah.
Look at the cleaning path of a nozzle set this way. It ain't very nice. It's like a surgical knife. So you need to put it and keep it in a fan. Yeah. So if you had one of these and you wanted to clean your clog, and it's a brass version, you do a jiggle. But this is stainless. It's as hard as the stainless steel here. You're equal to equal, which means who's going to win? I don't know. I don't want to take a chance I'm going to disfigure that. So water pressure is your best way.
Okay.
But what do you got to have? You got to have a stubby wrench handy. It's easy to grab your little wire and dig in there, but like I say, do what you want, guys. But
I've got one last question, Mark. We have to wrap this up here in a couple minutes.
All right.
Okay. There's a lot of people, and we won't mention any names, especially small group people, who feel like a tile wand is superior to a spinner type tool.
I'd love to hear the list of reasons why they say superior. Here's what I'm going to put words in their mouth and say, it's easier to grab and use. I don't need as much pressure. Even if I have it, I don't need it. And I get to clean a wider swath, which I don't know. Most wands are 12 inches, so I don't know what's wider than this. Okay. But I think what it is it's better because they're scrubbing anyway, and I don't have to bring a tool in that's bulkier to use because, all this steel, this head, it's bulkier. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Than a nice little aluminum S-bend wand. The problem is if it's a 2-jet wand, that's what I have here. If it's a 4-jet wand, you're now flowing more water. Well, how does the wand makers of these tile wands, these tile wands, how do they cover the distance between one jet and the other. They use a wide fan. What is a wide fan going to do different than a skinny 5-degree jet that only cuts 3/4 of the line?
It's not going to cut as deep or clean as fast or as
Hard.
effectively.
You are
Or as hard.
just picture you're flailing it out and dividing that pressure into a wide fan so
Right.
that you can get full coverage. If I'm a painter, I want wide coverage. I don't want a paint nozzle that goes real skinny like this. What a dips I would look like. I'd have a mess on that wall. I'm a graffiti artist now, but I want a wide fan. Not when you're cleaning hard surfaces. You want a tight, narrow, high impact fan that spins at a banshee rate that I now have a 12-inch path. So for that reason, I totally wholeheartedly disagree with effectiveness. This is 1,000% more effective. Even if you were to get a bad boy 4,000 psi pressure washer, and unless you change those jets out to high flow jets of 3 gallons a minute each, and your pump can do 3 gallons a minute, you aren't cleaning any better than this spray bar will.
Okay, so
Now-
it's more effective. Is it faster?
No, because if you make multiple, here, let me back up. How and why do guys use tile wands? They scrub first.
Yep.
Well, if I don't have enough pressure to drive a turbo effectively, yeah, I have to scrub first. But if you're going to scrub the brains out of your grout joint with this little guy, or the inline grout brush that's a beast, and the longer one that's about 2 more inches longer than this,
Or a
yeah,
CRB. Yeah.
I'm scrubbing first, and now it's time to just rinse. So yeah, I've already done the hard thing, the bulk thing. The effective removal process is with these little bristles. Why do I want to do 2 big steps? Guys say, well, it's not that hard. It's your time. What is your time worth to have to stroke every single grout joint? I don't stroke any grout joints. I haven't for years, 27 years. The only time I stroke a grout joint is if I'm in a rat nasty Chinese restaurant and it is a slick. There is no grout divot.
Well, let me
filled
be the
with-
devil's advocate again on that. Well, really,
Okay.
I'm going to be the angel advocate on this, because a lot of guys, including myself, we do it for the dog and pony show to separate ourselves from other cleaners and to make the customer think we're doing something that takes a lot more work for the amount of money that we're charging.
I
them.
love that answer, because here's my comeback to your answer. Mrs. Jones, I just quoted you for this, and you are a little leery. This is a lot of money. I didn't even, maybe I talked about color sealing, which almost doubled my ticket. Maybe I didn't, but let's just take the color seal off. Let's take repairs off the table. Let's just clean her floor as best we can. And I'm going to go show her that I'm charging you $1,100. And she's going, wow, that's more than I've ever paid. Well, I'm going to get it cleaner than you. I'm going to do a demo for you to show that I'm worth it. It's a dog and pony. Everything's a dog and pony show. However, if I say to justify my cost, I'm going to have a 12. And I've talked to a guy. I read his ad and I go, a 12-step process for cleaning grout and tile? I got to hear this. So I dug in. I went to his website and he went through every one of his 12 steps. Evaluate, move all furniture, vacuum with a commercial vacuum. What am I, 3? 4, pre-spray with professional industrial strength cleaner.
For tile
5,
grout.
am I on 5? I'm losing count here. 5, pre-scrub every grout joint by hand. By hand.
By hand?
Yeah, well, hey, this is by hand, right, guys?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'm not, using my fingers. My fingernails. I'm
Do
using.
you think customers read all that?
No, but it's his sizzle. It's what you're responding to. The guy we think that if we justify our big ticket, it's with work, baby. I gotta look like a slave. I gotta pull out this tool, this knowledge, these chemicals. This
That's a good way to look at it. That's
commercial
true.
chemicals, and I've got to justify. No, you don't. Just, does the customer really want you there all day? Be honest, guys. Do they want you doing a 12-step program? No, they want you in and out as fast as you can. And
These days, yes, I have to agree with you. You're right. You're right.
yeah, they don't care if you have an 80-step process.
Mm.
They don't want you to razzle-dazzle dance them with all this impressive steps and your degree in groutology that you got at the University of Talon Grout. They just want you in and out, and they want to know that they got the best freaking job you've ever. So tell them about how high temp. Show them some videos.
Mark's making up words over here.
What?
I said, you're making up words over here.
Yeah,
Groutology.
Okay. Yeah, I've got plenty of these new terminology.
I think you covered everything real well, Mark. Can you back up a little bit? Let me get a wide angle of a tool.
Which one? You know, I've got.
It doesn't matter. Like the one you got laying on the bench there. I'm trying to think of anything else we can think of on them.
I actually have another one, and it's at a friend's house, and I wanted to bring it here, but he's in Phoenix.
Okay, Mark. Here the last question. Let's leave it at this. Okay. Why not make a clear head for it?
Good question. We've always thought of that. That's why we actually injected one. Here's the problem. Just like clear upholstery tools that get exposed to a lot of hot water, craze, and crack. You can't put fiberglass in this and still see through it anyway. Fiberglass is a reinforcement mechanism of injected plastics. So 3D printing has come along these days. There's one right there. We make products with our 3D printer. The kind of resins, the kind of chemicals or polymers that they now have in 3D filament, the processes where they can actually 3D print steel, copper, titanium, you name it. The technology is not new, it's here. And so it's all about cost, it's about durability. And yes, it would be great if I could see what's going on, but tell me, be honest with you guys, any of the windows in your wands, your upholstery tools, once they get dirty, you can't see squat anyway. So it's you're going to be taking it apart.
But they're easy and inexpensive to replace on the wands. But replacing the shell of that, it's not going to be cheap and not easy.
So are you going to detail and put carnauba wax on here?
Nobody's going to do that. Yeah,
it's going to get old. It's got sizzle. It's cool. It was trade show worthy. There's our clear guys.
You know, it'd be cool, Mark. You know, it'd be really cool if you had one. You could bring in a demo to a customer to do a demo for a Talon Grout while you're there cleaning the carpets or something.
It explains. But remember, this is what we get caught up in. I've got guys all over on the internet that do a video trying to sell the customer on a Rotovac or on a whatever. Your job, our job, is not to sell the customer on the tool. You're not selling a tool. You're selling clean.
Not good, Chad. But I'll have Mark break that down for you.
I think if you think you say, most guys use a stupid floor scrubber and acid. Guess what we use, Mrs. Jones? The turbo. We use the SX12. We use the whatever's out there these days. There's five. Right. There's actually 5 different turbo type tools on the market. Some haven't lasted and aren't being sold today. But the point is, you razzmatazz them by good reviews, by transformational photos before and after, and a good rapport. Tell the customer why you're going to color seal. Tell them what's different about your service than the guy who's an.
Well, you're always selling the benefits to build the value. Mark,
exactly.
I've got one last question up here. Somebody posted up here, Chad Buckley, and you're not going to like one of these points. I don't know if you got your chat open or not. He says, "Do these jets unscrew, and is there a filter in there? Also, I've tried for a year now to get mine unscrewed, and I can't. I just poke it." Listen to what he says here, Mark. I just poke a tiny wire in there to free up anything.
Gotcha. And he's doing what he's got to do. Here's the primer. Here's the course. And this will end our show. Unscrew it. Get your stubby wrench out. And when you get the stubby wrench out, you're pushing the stubby wrench against the bar, right? And it goes the direction of the spray bar. See, it comes off. It goes this way. That's the way it spins when water's shooting through it, which tightens it on.
Right.
Off is the other way. So just get that right. Looking in the tool, counter, lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. Make sense? We kept it the same as nuts and bolts, guys. Make it easy for us nut jobs, right?
No, you just said that back. You just said that backwards. Lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. It's off. It's actually the opposite because it's reverse threaded.
No, watch me. Sorry. Righty tighty. Righty puts it on.
That's not right. That's
Takes
left.
it off.
Unless your camera's
Oh,
backwards.
wait a minute. Here's a problem. Cameras reverse everything, dudes.
Okay.
Honestly, I hate this. I wish the cameras wouldn't do it. Maybe I
Yeah.
can do that. No, it should
It's
be
okay.
going
Look, Mark,
righty,
it's all right. Go ahead and show them how to get the jets off
Yeah,
without.
this is spinning the
without
wrong way.
damaging-
The camera reverses images.
Yeah,
So
Mark,
just remember, don't look at the video. Listen, righty tighty, lefty loosey. I don't know why
Show-
cameras are reversed. But
Show
you take it off.
Uh-huh.
You are going to put this in a vise. I'm talking not a pair of pliers. I'm
Which
talking
part?
in a vise.
Which part? We can't see it. You're not in front of the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to put this spray bar, the elbow part,
The elbow part.
a
Yes.
bench vise, not a crescent wrench.
Can you see
can put
that,
a
Chad?
crescent
What
wrench.
he's doing right there? He's saying, take the spray bar off.
Put it in a vise,
Get your little
and you're
elbow
gonna get,
in. Mhm.
and you're going to get a socket wrench,
Do that,
not an
Mike.
open end wrench, not a pair of vice grips, not a pair of channel locks or a crescent wrench. You're going to put this in a socket
Why not use a crescent wrench?
because a crescent's got two surfaces and you've got 6. Use them
Yeah,
all.
one there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
they put these in with Loctite, like you're never going to take them out,
Oh.
right? It's not me, guys. Don't blame me. I
got
invented
you.
it. Someone else is running the ship now. All right, so yeah, you'll take it out, no problem. And if it is permanent Loctite, because somebody did it after the fact, we use medium set Loctite at TurboForce.
Yeah.
And I like Teflon. I like taking them out anytime I dang well want with a pair of pliers. You don't need to use Loctite. They're not going to loosen by themselves. Just
Right.
make it easy to maintain, and then put them back on. Just don't put this in a vise, the hub, and bend. You're going to bend the whole thing. This bars can be bent if you're getting too muscly with them.
Okay.
So you get it out. Put a new jet on. These are available through spraying systems or any dealer who sells turbos.
We sell them, yeah. Mark, do you recommend how often you recommend replacing the bar and the jets, or both?
I've never replaced any of my bars because I don't
Okay.
like throwing them
Okay.
down over objects or extended parts or cleaning cars with them. I mean, there's the only thing that wears this out is abuse. Like,
all right. What about the jets? What about the jets?
The jets will wear out because water flowing through a hardened stainless steel will steal. And because it's a hardened alloy, it actually has some iron. These will slowly rust because of just corrosive chemical action. If you meter chemicals, think about it. You probably don't meter chemicals for tile and grout. You meter them for carpet if you're still into that. I'm not. I've never metered chemical in my 35 years cleaning carpet. I pre-spray and I meter with water. My Dwyer meter died years and years ago. I've never replaced.
Yeah, but look, Mark, we won't go into that right now, but water hardness is vary across the country. And that's why when I make my wrenches, and I use them because they got water softeners built in. But go ahead.
Exactly. Chelates will clean up a truck mount really quick. And it generally, look, the problem with zero res, what is their problem? They use deionized water. Well,
Look at all the damage it does to their
use
trucks.
water that's got
Eats those
empowerment.
trucks up.
It's very stressful to metal. So
Yes.
their jets get changed regular. It's the cost of doing business.
Right.
Yeah.
CODB.
Yep. And it's
All right, Mark,
I'm
I'm going to shut this down in 2 minutes because we said 1 hour. We went 2 hours. So I'm going to stop it right at 2 hours.
Well,
anybody else have any more
we
questions?
tell everybody we charge overtime.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to remind everybody every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And I'll probably be having Mark on a lot because he is a wealth of information. I think we bounce off each other very well and explaining things, asking questions. Mark's real good at all the technical stuff. My forte is basically taking something that's difficult and make it simple, easy, practical, and just simple and easy to understand. That's all I try to do. So with a lot of this information, I'll take this, Mark, and I'll go ahead and make a YouTube video. But for people who want something of long length, remember, you can go to YouTube. It'll be in my podcast live section. I redo them, re-edit them, and I move them over to the regular section also on the regular video section on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, please take time to subscribe, comment, ring that bell. You know, those things always help a lot and helping us and promotes our channel. So we really appreciate that. Remember, we have the Facebook group. If you're coming here from YouTube, which I see a lot of people are, we have the Facebook group, TruckMountForums, Carpet Cleaning Professionals is the largest in the industry. I'm always there every day, all day long, Mark's even in there too. You can tag us by putting the @ symbol in front of it, put our name. It'll tag us. If you get a floor problem or you get a carpet problem, any kind of problem, just bring them up and we'll address them. And of course, Mark has Turbo Seal. Is it turboseal.com?
Right. It's a
Turboseal.com.
hyphen between turbo and seal. If you don't
There's
put
a hyphen between turbo and seal for turboseal.com.
you'll be looking at asphalt parking lot emulsions if
Yeah.
you don't.
We also have the forum, TruckMountForums.com, where that's plenty of information right there. Hey, last question. Bob Willinez. Hope I'm saying your last name properly, Bob. And I need to get back down and see you, my friend. What year was your original turbo, Mark?
2000. Wow. Gosh, it was so long ago. Go back. Go back 28 years. Just go back 28 years. I think that's right.
28 years ago. That's
now
what he
the
said.
Viper, a single jet tool, kind of like this.
Thanks, Carpet Pro.
That was
Who
first.
is Carpet Pro, by the way? What's your name, Carpet Pro? And John Martinez, it's Truck Mount Forums. Truck Mount Forums is our YouTube handle. Thanks for mentioning that. It's a good question. Say that one more time, Mark. 28 years, you said?
Yeah, and it was the first tool was a single jet called the Viper, aluminum S-bend one. I actually have one. I've got to get it. Maybe
But when was Bob Willinez thought it was 1999?
Yeah, 99 was when the first stuff came out, and I started teaching classes for Bridgepoint Systems, and that's when it sort of exploded. We then quickly came out with that black turbo right there because we needed it. You can't clean 3/4 of an inch at a time. You had to take 12 inches out.
Gotcha. Well, good stuff, Mark. We really appreciate all the information. We appreciate that you help bring tools like this to the market. You're a wealth of information, and we'll definitely have you on as often as possible, and maybe every week. Who knows? So if you guys ever have a subject or a topic you want covered, feel free to go ahead and mention that. You can message me on Facebook or on YouTube, anything like that. Just reach out to me. We'll be glad to handle those. And Bob said he had one of the original black ones. I did too. I love the original black ones personally. I really did.
Well, they had the problem. They didn't have a brush available. It was just a hard boot.
Yeah, I know.
And you couldn't lay it over your manifold. You could melt it easy. It was revolutionary. It was the first.
Good stuff. All right, Mark. Well, thanks a lot, pal. We appreciate it. Everyone, have yourself a great night. And we'll see you around on the forums or on Facebook and back here every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Thanks, Mark.
Bye.